If you've ever dreamed of creating your own podcast, you're in the right place, because I'm about to teach you step by step how to create your own video podcast frames. Add your episodes, audio and music, all of it using just Canva. So welcome to the Code of Feminine Excellence, and let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is create our podcast cover. And the way that we'll do that is by going to create a design and clicking Instagram Square Post, which is 1080 by 1080. And we'll name this our podcast cover. Next, we're going to change our background to black. And now we're going to add our text. Just go to text, click add a heading, and just type the name of your podcast. On a Mac computer, you can duplicate this text by just pressing the Option key on your keyboard and dragging it down. So I'll be using one of my favorite Canva fonts, which is Playfair Display. Upsize this enough and do the same with the title underneath. Just making sure that things align in a way that you like. So for this font, I'll be using Montserrat. And what I like about this font is that it has a bunch of different options for choosing which look I want to go for. And make sure that the framing is right. Okay, so now I'm just going to insert a frame for this. Just press the Option key on my keyboard and then drag it to the corner. And then just change the border weight and the color of my border to white. Then I just leave the inside empty. It's a little too thin, so I'll just increase this border thickness a little bit. Right now, I'm going to insert some money photos. I like this one. And I'm going to use the same Option key trick right here. So to make this a little bit fainter, I'm just gonna use the transparency like that, then just leave it at a very low value like that, and then I am going to just adjust the saturation a little bit so that it doesn't have any tint in it, sort of black and white look. And now I think that I want to make a different tone too, in case that this doesn't really work for the background because it's really dark. So I'm going to choose a different, like a charcoal, more charcoal color. Just make it almost gray and almost charcoal, and you know, you can always just go back to this and tweak it as you go. And next I'm going to upload my photograph that I'll be using for the podcast cover and also for the podcast frame. So this is my image. I can use the Option key trick, just drag it to the sides while pressing the Option key. I'm going to desaturate this just a little bit to give it a bit of a more neutral tint. And I'm just going to take this frame that I used for my previous cover and just Command C and then Command V, and it'll paste it in the exact same place. And next I'm going to share these as PNG. So to do that, I'm going to click on Share, Download, choose PNG as my file format, and then just choose Download. So now that this is ready, we're going to start with the second part, which is our podcast frame. we'll just go to our homepage again and then click create a design and then go to video. And once in there, you can rename your file. And then I'm just going to upload my podcast covers. And now that they're ready, I am going to make this background black. And then I'm just going to select my background image, which is the one that we had been working with. And I'm just gonna give this a little bit of framing and then just adjust the transparency to look sort of like this. Then just adjust the saturation too. To look pretty desaturated, but not completely desaturated. So once you're happy with how it looks, you can go ahead and insert your podcast cover and just resize it to be a size that you like and just align it in a way that looks balanced. And then just go to elements and then look for shapes. Might be down here. Make it larger. And then just make this black and then just click position, layers panel, go to my layers panel and just drag it behind my cover. And then just give it a little bit of transparency. So the next thing that we'll be doing is adding our podcast titles. And to do this, just go to text, add a heading, and then a very helpful thing here is showing your rulers. And I'm showing my rulers right now by default, but if you can't see them, just go to File, Settings, and then click Show Rulers and Guides, and you should see them. So I'm just gonna drag a guide right here to give me some help with the alignment. So I'm just going to make this align to the left and then just type in the name of the podcast. Then I'm going to add my episode number. By the way, this podcast doesn't really exist. I just made it up for the purpose of this example. So you're welcome to create it in case it sounds appealing to you. So right now I'm just going to add the actual font that I'll be using, which is Play for Display. And right now I have it bold selected by default, but I don't like the bold style for this too much. So I'm just going to use a regular Playfair style. Just go to Effects and add a white outline to this. So our letters are a little bit thicker, but not too much that it looks like a bold. I like to give this a little bit of a letter spacing so that it looks a little bit more stylish. I think for this, I'm going to use a different font. I think I want to use the Montserrat font that I used before. But this time I want to make it the bold. And again, I'm just going to space this out a little bit, especially this one, so that it looks a little bit more chic and stylish. Now for the episode title, I might not be able to do this too much, but I can use something in between. Just do any adjustments that you want to make to your titles. Next, we're going to be adding our waveform. So to do that, just go to Elements and type Audio Visualizer. And go to Graphics. And as you scroll down, this is an option that I very much like. And as you can see, this is a free option. So I'm going to insert that and just adjust it. It's a little bit small, so I'll just duplicate it. And to do this, I just click on my image while pressing Option on my keyboard and then just drag it to the side. I want to group this too so that it stays together, and then just make it a little bit fainter. I think I'm going to make some adjustments here just to make sure that my framing looks balanced. So the next thing that we'll do is add our podcasting platforms. And to do this, we'll just go to Elements, scroll down to Shapes, and look for this option, which is the rounded square, and then just insert that and make it a little bit smaller. And then just change its color to the color that you want to use. And then with the corner rounding, a lower radius here. In case you want to decrease the size of your shape, just press Shift on your keyboard at the same time that you're resizing a shape so that it keeps its aspect ratio. I'm just going to insert the title for this platform. And just make sure that the alignment is to the left so that when you duplicate this, it also aligns to the left. And I will be using my Montserrat font, which is the one that I used. So now that we have this sort of template ready, we're just going to insert our podcast platforms logos. So these are the ones that I'll be using. By the way, I don't own any of these brands. This is just for educational purposes. I'm just going to insert the one that I'll be using first, which is a Spotify one, and just cropping it to use only the icon, and then just make it a smaller size. And as I can see, this is see-through, so I'm just going to Elements and insert a circle shape. Make it smaller, like this. And then on my layers panel, just drag it behind so that the Spotify icon looks according to the brand. So next, just do any framing adjustments that you need to do. Okay, so now I'm gonna group this, and next we're ready to move on to our second podcasting platform. So just click on the one that you just created while holding the Option key on your keyboard and dragging it to the right. You can just make any adjustments that you need. In case that the platform name is longer, just ungroup. Listen on Apple Music. We're just gonna make some adjustments. Then just go back to your uploads and then click on the icon that you need to insert. And then just place it where it needs to go. Okay, so now I'm gonna group this, duplicate again, and you're ready to move on to your next platform. Again, just make any adjustments that you need. And when you're finished, just click Group, and you're ready to go. I'm just gonna look for shadow and just look at the graphics that I'm shown. And as you can see, there are free options like this one, which is the one that I'm going to insert. And there are also pro options, depending on what you want to use. But this free one works perfectly. So I'm just going to make this a little bit fainter with my transparency tool and just position it in my layers panel, dragging it behind all of my elements. And as you can see, I duplicated this shadow here. And then just do any framing adjustments that you want to do. So now that I have this ready, I'm just going to go to text and insert a text overlay. So I'm just going to make this pretty large, like that. And then just switch the font to the font that I've been using, which is Play for Display. Remove the bold. And then adjust the spacing to be less spaced out. And then just make sure that the word fits all in the same line of text. So next I'm going to give this some transparency adjustments to make it look a little bit fainter. Okay, so the idea with this is that this text slowly goes to the left as you're watching the podcast video frame. And we'll do this by selecting our text and clicking animate. Then just choose the custom animation option. And then while holding your shift key on your keyboard, just press your text and drag it to the left. You can try this as many times as you need. I certainly didn't get it right the first time. And now that your animation has been recorded, just adjust the speed to be at a very, very low setting and use the smooth movement style. So now we're going to adapt this to our second podcast frame style. And to do this, we'll just copy and paste this or just duplicate it. Just left click and duplicate it. And we're going to start adapting our design. We're going to do some variation right here. Click on our background image and then just click Edit Image and select the blur effect. Click on Whole Image and adjust our intensity to a setting that we like. And next we're going to take this waveform and just place it right here at the bottom and resize it, and then just do any adjustments. You can adjust the podcasting platforms and the titles to look a little bit more centered. If you want, you can change your podcast cover and use your second podcast cover that you worked on. So as you see, we now have two podcast frame options with their animated sliding text. You can make other animation adjustments by just selecting all of your elements, clicking Group, and give it an animation setting that you like. For this example, I used the fade option. And for our second podcast frame, I chose the pen style. You can choose the style that better fits your brand's image. We're going to go ahead and make this into our podcasting episode. And to do this, we'll just go to our homepage again and click Create a Design, click on Video, and this one we're going to name it with the actual name of our podcast episode. And then just copy and paste the style that you want to use for this episode. Ideally, this should always look the same so that people can remember your brand. Then just copy and paste. Right click, click Add a Transition. And you can use an animation like Dissolve, which will help you transition smoothly into the next one. So now that we have this ready, we're going to add our podcast audio. Just drag and drop it into your files. And next we're going to go to the very start of our video and click on our audio. Next we'll hit play.
Welcome to the She Knows Money podcast.
So right about now, you can do any adjustments that you need. Like if you don't want this to start at the very, very beginning of your video, just a couple seconds later, you can do that. You can also add any music that you want to the background. You can search in Canva's library. You can just add any clips that you like for your podcast. Adjust the volume. And then just make any adjustments that you need until your episode is ready. And once you're ready to share it, just click on Share, Download, and then just choose MP4 as your file format. You can also export this at a higher setting like 4K, but this is just available for Canva Pro accounts. And then just click Download and wait for it to compress and download into your computer. If you like this tutorial, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the second part, where we'll be adapting these video podcast frames into different styles and smaller sound bites that you can share to promote your podcast on practically any social media platform right now. Once it's uploaded, I'll be sharing it down in the description box below. And thank you so much for watching Kitty Mogul. I hope to see you on my next video. The world needs you, beautiful. Always remember that.